पृथिवी शान्तिरन्तरिक्षगं शान्तिर्द्यौ शान्तिर्दिशः शान्तिरवान्तर दिशा शान्तिरग्निः शान्तिर्वायुः चन्द्रमा शान्तिर्नक्षत्राणि शान्तिरापः शान्तिरोषधयः शान्तिर्वनस्पतयः शान्तिर्गौ प्रजा शान्तिर्ब्रह्म शान्तिर्ब्राह्मणः शान्तिः शान्तिरेव शान्तिः शान्तिर्मे अस्तु शान्तिः. May there be peace on earth and in the sky. May there be peace in the water and in all directions. May there be peace in the plants, in the trees, and in animals. May there be peace in the hearts of all beings. May there be peace in everyone and in everything. Sarvetra sukhinas santu, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukha bhag bhavet, sarvastaratu durgani, sarvo bhadrani pashyatu, sarvas sadbuddhimapnotu, sarvas sarvatra nandatu. May all be happy and healthy. May all see what is good, and may no one experience misery. May all overcome their obstacles and acquire good tendencies. May people everywhere find joy and fulfillment. Let us now spend some time touching the center of peace and joy in our hearts. A good way to begin the practice is to withdraw the scattered energies of the mind and bring them to rest on one point. That point can be our own breathing. Let us therefore practice breathing with awareness. As we breathe in, let us visualize that our body and mind are being filled with love, strength, and compassion. And as we breathe out, let us release all the stress, anxiety, and exhaustion in the body and mind. Let us practice this way for a while. Let us now turn our attention to the region of our heart. Although God is present everywhere and in everyone, the divine presence can be felt most clearly in our own hearts. We can meditate in any way we have been taught. To remain focused, we can take the help of a short mental prayer or a mantra or a divine name. Let us now spend some time dwelling on the presence of God in our hearts. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om.
We will sing Kali the Mother on the last page of your book.
Clouds are covering clouds.
We are happy to have today with us Prabhrajika Vrajapranaji. She is a senior nun of the Ramakrishna order. She is from the Vedanta Society in Southern California, in Santa Barbara. Most of you don't need an introduction for Vrajapranaji. She is a senior nun of the order, as I said. She is the author of Vedanta, A Simple Introduction, a book that many of you have read. And she's also edited and written several other volumes. She has spoken to several Vedanta students, not only in the North America, but also in Europe and South America. And she has spoken here, as many of you might remember, both at our Krishna festival, Rama festival, and on other occasions as well. So I'm very happy that she's agreed to come and speak with us today while she's visiting the city. And today her subject will be living with uncertainty. Please welcome Vrajapranaji.
Good morning, and thank you for that song. More appropriate than I could have hoped. It was, who actually wants to hug the form of death? Not too many. I can hardly wait to go through that. I need to give you a little backstory on this, because when I was approached and said, okay, what would you like to talk about this month? I said, living with uncertainty. I said it before I actually even thought about it. And that's because I live in Montecito. And Montecito, which is part of Santa Barbara, which means that in December, we had a fire which became the largest forest fire, the largest fire in California history. We're number one. We're number one. We did it. It was the biggest fire ever. It rained ash for weeks, and we had to evacuate. We'll tough out a few things, but we're not about to tough out a forest fire. We've been surrounded by a fire before. We know the kind of damage. We got out of Dodge. Took the shrine with us, took the temple with us, all the important things. And, you know, we seemed to, when we came back, the place smelled like the inside of a fireplace. I walked into my room. There was that much ash that I literally had to step over to get into my room. And it was, and we thought, okay, we got a lot of cleaning, but we can do it. And everything seemed to be fine until on January 9th, the mountain came tumbling down. So we had a literal rain of boulders where the mountains that surround Montecito, that area back there, we had what they call a mudslide debris flow. What it meant is that these boulders, literally the size of this room, many, 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 many boulders the size of this room, were floating on a sea of shale. And they were bouncing down the mountains and destroying the entire community as it went down. It took 15 minutes to go from the mountain behind us, in which our Vedanta Society is nestled in these beautiful mountains, nestled in the foothills of the mountains, and it took 15 minutes for it to get from the mountains behind us to the sea, taking people, houses, trees, old people, young people, toddlers, homes, possessions, cars, foundations of homes, everything with it. Whew, 15 minutes. And it's the community has yet to recover. It'll actually be decades before the community recovers. So the problem with this, it'd be nice if you thought, okay, whew, got that out of the way. The problem is that 80% of that debris is still on the mountain, and it will come down. We don't know when, we don't know where. It will come down because the burn was so bad that it literally burns the dirt so that nothing can grow in it. So if if we don't know, we've got about 5 years before things will grow to enough. The brush will grow and the trees will grow to be able to keep the roots down, to keep everything on the mountain, on top of the mountain. But if we get enough rain, if we get a big enough earthquake, it'll all come tumbling down again, and the destruction that we had will happen all over again. So that's why when they said, what are you going to talk about? I thought, living with uncertainty. But the funny thing about it, it's not so ha-ha funny, but the thing that we have to think about is that we all live with uncertainty every day of our lives. We just don't acknowledge it. And I think we ought to acknowledge it, because I think if we don't acknowledge it, then we have this kind of subliminal anxiety, like little sharks beneath us as we're swimming. I swim in the ocean, so I talk about sharks a lot, so that are kind of underneath us. And I think we also miss a powerful opportunity for spiritual growth when we don't acknowledge uncertainty and actually learn to live with it in a very conscious way. It gives us the opportunity for growth that we wouldn't have otherwise. We live with the uncertainty. We live with the unexpected all the time. And what we have to think about is that we're never, even though the unexpected happens all the time, we never expect the unexpected. It always comes as a surprise to us. And we're often taken unbalanced by it. No one leaves the house in the morning thinking, today's the day I get into a car accident. Today's the day I get to be T-boned. No one expects to leave the house thinking, today's the day I slip and fall and break my collarbone. No one thinks, hey, today's the day I get to be downsized. Or today's the day I get an unexpected call and I'm given a job offer that just is like right. I couldn't even imagine this happening. But we don't have a problem with that one. We don't have a problem with that kind of, you've won the lottery. We don't have a problem with it. What we have a problem with is when these unexpected things come and we find them bad or terrible or dangerous, and we don't know how to manage them. So when these things do happen, when we come home to finding our house on fire, or telling our spouse or partner that we've been downsized, life seems to be unfair. It's like, how did that happen? Yet life is just inherently uncertain, but we put blinkers on because we somehow expect that if we try hard enough, everything is going to go just as the way it has been going in this nice, certain, predictable way. If not going the same, at least at a bit of an up tilt, so things are just getting a little bit better all the time. And this fact of our life was, of course, brought home to me very directly with the mudslides. We were totally prepared for that fire. We live in a fire area. We know it's going to happen. We always say, it's not if, but when. We were totally unprepared for the mudslides. How do you prepare for going down the street, turning left and finding a Prius in a tree? How do you prepare for looking in the creek and finding a little creek that you used to step over and finding it now the size of 3 football fields? How do you prepare to find out that the person that you swam with at the Y is no longer there? Or that 400 houses no longer, they can't even draw property lines because the property is completely, it's unrecognizable. Entire streets are gone. There's so much cognitive dissonance going on that you simply don't know how to navigate. But the problem is this happens to us all the time. If we suddenly lose our spouse, if we suddenly lose our partner, we find ourselves in cognitive dissonance. We find ourselves in a place where we simply don't know how to manage because things have gone off course so badly. We simply don't know how to navigate down the street. So after these things happen, we're kind of filled with these feelings of unsafety and insecurity. Is that mountain going to come down on me? Well, how am I going to live without my spouse, without my partner? How am I going to be able to go without a job? But with the uncertainty of life, we somehow have to put it together. We realize that life itself isn't safe, that life itself is inherently uncertain. And that's because we don't live in a cocoon, thank God. Thank God. We live in a land of earthquakes. And we always talk about the big one. We never know when the big one, we just had a 5.3 in Santa Barbara on Thursday. Thank God it didn't happen on the land, it happened on the channel. If it happened on the land, those boulders were to come down. We don't know when the big one will hit. We don't know where exactly it'll hit, but we know it'll hit. We live with the uncertainty of knowing that will one day happen. This body has a beginning, and it most certainly will have an end. We all know that, but we don't really come to terms with it. We get these little messages from Yama, the king of death. It's coming. I'm sending you a little message, a little email from Yama. The hair turns white. The wrinkles start to come. We forget where we left the keys or the cell phone or something else. We get these little messages, but we don't think, and our friends and family may die around us. We don't think we're going to die. We don't think it's going to happen to us. We know it will happen theoretically, but we don't inhabit the idea, let alone assimilate the idea that this is a very temporary situation and we have to come to terms with it. Life is uncertain. It's like water on a lotus leaf. It is uncertain and it's unstable, and its existence, that little drop on a lotus leaf, it can end at any second. We can't avoid uncertainty. What we can do is avoid running away from it or pretending it's not really there. What we have to do is face the brute, as Swamiji said. We have to turn around and look at it and examine it so that we can live a happy and healthy and basically integrated life. You know, in 2001, there was a study at our university at UC Santa Barbara, and I just ran into the study, and I was so surprised to read what they said, because in this published study, they said the next big one in Santa Barbara may not be an earthquake, but a boulder-carrying flood. Oh, that sounds familiar, huh? Didn't we just have that? Yeah, a boulder-carrying flood, which is just what happened. It's simply exactly what eviscerated the community. This report also said that this would most likely occur every quote-unquote few thousand years. Bingo, we got the winning ticket. We won. We got the winning ticket of having a boulder carrying. Now, no one objects if they have a 1 in 3,000 chance of winning a lottery, but none of us were too thrilled about getting the 1 in 3,000 year chance of getting a boulder carrying flood that tore life upside down and left people, the whole community, PTSD, leaving the place completely unrecognizable. No one wants that ticket. But the thing, rather than pretending it was some sort of a cosmic mistake, or it was like a divine distribution error, oh, it's the wrong address. We don't do that in Santa Barbara. It's a beautiful place. No, send it on to some other place. Rather than doing that, we simply have to own it. We have to own this, because we don't know what ticket we've pulled. We don't know we have what card coming up. We simply know that one will come up that we're not anticipating. So rather than avoiding it, we have to really understand that one day we will get a call saying your kid's got a broken leg, better pick him up from school, or one day we will get a diagnosis that we don't like. Rather than avoiding it and thinking, we have to actually look at it and sort of get comfortable with it. Now, the problem is human beings by nature are not happy with uncertainty. It makes us nervous. We don't like it. It gives us stress. In fact, they've discovered that one of the most stressful things in the world is to feel like life is uncertain and we're out of control. Will I be downsized from my job? Will my business succeed or fail? Will my marriage stay together? Will I be together with my partner, or is my partner going to leave me? Will I have enough money for retirement, or am I going to be one of those people living in an RV at Walmart? Am I going to have enough to get by? Are my medical costs going to be such that I'm going to be warehoused in like a nursing home for 10 years before I die? Am I going to have my mind left, or am I going to get Alzheimer's? I mean, we all have these things that are little pulling at us sort of things. Is my house going to stay up? Is that mountain going to stay up there? Or is that boulder going to come right down in my room? We don't know. No, we can't avoid uncertainty, but what we can do is to minimize and come to terms with the stress and the fear that comes with uncertainty. Now, they've actually done scientific studies on this. Cardiologists in particular have done great studies on what it means to have the sense of insecurity, uncertainty, and lack of control. They say our body responds to this the same way that we respond to being chased by a saber-toothed tiger or a mastodon. We respond with our body, the chemicals that cause body inflammation flush into our body. We get, our blood pressure gets funky. It gets high. We start get heart arrhythmia. We get inflammation, and our blood pressure goes berserk because humans by nature hate to be out of control. We just hate it. Now the problem is we're never in control. We are never in control. We never have been. We never will be. We never can be because we cannot control the future. Now, the problem is we want to control the future because we want to maximize our joy, we want to maximize our pleasure, and we want to minimize our pain. We want to get through life as happy and as sweetly as possible with absolutely as little pain and suffering as possible. But it doesn't happen, and that's a very good thing because it's no way to grow. It's no way to gain compassion, and it's no way to gain in wisdom, and it's certainly no way to gain in strength. Life doesn't work that way. So we need to get over the fact that we can't have control, that we never have had control. We need to get over the illusion that we ever had control over anything. And if we do that, I think we can then step back, take a look at it, and see that in the big picture, that's with a capital B, capital P, if we look in the big picture, we can say, you know what? It's all going to be okay. In the big picture, we can look and say, you know what? It will all be okay. If we can do that, if we can kind of lean into uncertainty rather than avoiding it, I think we can become friends with uncertainty, and then we can learn from it. If we can live consciously with uncertainty, we'll come to terms with the fact that life is fleeting and it's fragile. And because it is fleeting and it is fragile, it is incredibly precious. And so rather than assuming that we have to have certain preconditions for our happiness, for what will be in the future, we can learn to be happy with what we have now, because we have it now. And we realize, because life is so fleeting and it's so evanescent, that what we have now very well may not be with us in the future. We'll become very grateful for what we have now. We won't set our bars so high that we can't be happy and joyful and content with what we have now. We won't set these expectations. You know, we often come to these points in our life where we say, this is such a wonderful time. I wish this moment would last forever. No, you don't. You really don't. We'd all be bored to death. Nothing can stay the hand of time. Thank you for that song. Time is all devouring. Everything is changed and destroyed by the hand of time. Time has no stop. Swami Tyagananda never tired of repeating the words of Buddha. All compounded matter is bound to decay. Nothing can stay the hand of time. You know, we want to control life the way that they catch butterflies, which is by pinning them into a frame. No, we don't wish this moment would last forever. Because you know what? The butterfly is dead. All the life and the movement has been taken out of that butterfly. All the beauty is gone. The butterfly was beautiful, and it moved our hearts because the butterfly came into our life. It was beautiful, and then it went on its merry way. We can't hold on to anything, whether it's our life or our intelligence or our beauty or our fame or our money or our possessions or our loved ones. Like butterflies, they come into our lives and they grace our lives and then they go on their way. And what we have to learn is rather than trying to hold it and pin it down, we have to just be grateful for its presence in our life right when it's there. And just say, thank you. You are so beautiful. And let it go. Swamiji always said, open your hands, open your hands. If you do not leave your hands open, life itself will force your hands open, and that is a very painful place to be. Open your hands, let it go. And when we can gain that, we'll gain some peace and a little acceptance, and then we'll have a deeper understanding of our own life, the meaning of our life, and the deeper purpose of life, purpose in life, when we can live with uncertainty consciously. We don't expect everything to continue as it has been. We accept and are grateful for what we have now, knowing very well it is going to change in the future, and we can't do anything about it. And we won't set such a high bar for our happiness that we won't be crushed when the things that we hope that would be there are gone, because they know they're going to move on. We don't depend so much on external factors to make us happy, because we know that every bit of happiness is within our hearts and not outside. And we will understand that the more expectations that we bring for our bar to be happy, the more miserable we make ourselves. Because the more conditions and expectations that we hold, that I need this and I expect this to make me content and happy, the more miserable we make ourselves. And the sad thing is that we've done it to ourselves. Every expectation that we have is more bondage that we put on more chains that we're putting on our own ankles. And we do it to ourselves. So the less expectations we have, the less bondage we have. The less bondage we have, the greater joy we can have in our own life. When we learn to live with uncertainty consciously, we learn to really take into consideration how transitory life is. And then we start asking ourselves the important questions. What am I doing here? How am I spending my time? Am I using my time wisely? Or am I just kind of surfing along on the surface of life, just enjoying as it's going on its merry way? No, we can do this and it's fine, but the problem is life goes by much sooner than we expect, because we never know when it's going to come to an end. We never know. And then when the time comes, like, wait a minute, this is not when I wanted to die. I really wanted to develop my inner life. Well, you know what? That didn't happen, because we were kind of there enjoying being on the current of life, relaxing and enjoying ourselves. So, His Holiness Dalai Lama never tires of saying, don't waste precious human birth. Do not waste this precious human birth. Of the beings that inhabit this universe, how many have this body? Not all that many. We are in the definite minority of embodied beings. How many beings have the opportunity to come to a place of knowledge such as this? Not very many. Of that, how many really strive to do something with their spiritual life and attain their divine inheritance? Not that many. Don't waste precious human birth. Don't gonna come around again. We don't know what's going to happen with that Russian roulette of karma. We don't know which birth is going to come up. Do not waste this precious human birth. When we realize how transitory this whole thing is, how uncertain it is, we can remember, okay, do not take this for granted. We can ask ourselves, what is the purpose of my life, and am I fulfilling that purpose? Now, you know what? Vedanta is really clear on the purpose of life. According to Vedanta, there is one purpose of human life, and that is to realize God. That it was to attain our divine inheritance, to manifest the divinity that is in our own hearts, often unexamined and often unknown. To manifest the divinity within our hearts, to attain God. That is the purpose of human life. Now, we can do it through several paths. We can do it through the path of love and devotion. We can do it through discernment, spiritual discernment. We can do it through unselfish work. We can do it through profound, deep, intense meditation, or preferably a combination of all four. But we have to try to do it. Because unless we do it, our life will be unfulfilled and we will not have the happiness that we seek. Because what are we doing here anyway? All anybody wants is to be happy. You guys aren't here to just pay your dues. You're here because you want to be happy. Why are any of us here? Why are any of us trying to do anything? Why do we play beautiful music? Why do we try to learn anything? We just want to be happy. And we won't be happy unless we realize, unless we attain that divine within us. Unless we realize who we are already. The Buddha said, "Oh, nobly born, remember who you are." Oh, nobly born, remember who you are. You know, if we could say that to ourselves like 20,000 times a day, we'd all be so much better off. Remember who you are. Who are we? We are unborn, undying, never ceasing, never beginning, birthless, deathless, unchanging forever. We are eternally free. We are perfect. We are absolutely pure. No matter what kind of messages you've gotten from yourself or anybody else, we are absolutely pure. We are absolutely perfect. The divine is our own inheritance. That is who we are before we're anything else. That is who we are. Infinite power and purity and strength are within us. We simply have to access it. But we can't access it unless we practice. We can't do it being couch potatoes. We have to actually put it into action. So, yeah, I know, I read the books, they're so inspiring. It's like, so? You don't learn physics by looking at a picture of Stephen Hawking. You gotta practice, you gotta do the work. And practice means the 3P of Swami Vivekananda, which means patience, because it doesn't come in a day. Purity, because we have to be really clean in our hearts. We have to really be clean and really upfront about what our motives are in our spiritual life. And because we have to lead an absolutely ethical life. We can't be lying, cheating, stealing, tomcatting around. Can't do that on one side and then say, oh, I'm meditating on that side and think that somehow equates the balance. It does not. Can't do it. And perseverance, because it's day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, maybe decade after decade. But you know what? As they all tell the kids, it gets better. It gets better. There are a lot of rewards that come on the way, but the rewards don't come unless we practice. So we have to practice so we can access what is already in our hearts and is the most basic thing about us, is our divine nature. But we can't do it without practice. So living with uncertainty allows us to take these obstacles in our life and we can make them opportunities so that when it happens, we don't think that life is something that's happening to us, but it is happening for us. So when we come into these difficult situations or we're facing situations that you think are going to get a lot more difficult, we can say, not why me, I'm a good person, why should this happen to me? But rather, what can I learn from this? What wisdom am I gaining? What compassion am I gaining from this? What is this teaching me in my life? So we can say, okay, when something difficult happens, what can I do about it? On a very practical level, what can I do about it? Well, the first thing that we do is we look and say, what in this situation can I control? And then the second thing we do is say, very little. Externally, there's very little because I cannot control the future, okay? I cannot control other people. This might be a big lesson for us, but we actually cannot control other people. We can't control nature. Despite what every scientist and government official will tell you, no, we cannot control nature. But you know what we can do? We can control our minds. And with practice, we can control our reactions. And that's basically all that we can control. You know, I learned something really interesting last week, and that is, did you know that the average human being has between 50,000 and 70,000 individual thoughts every day? Isn't that exhausting? It's like, what? And the sad thing is that's pretty much the same thing we thought yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before and the day before and the day before. But it also gives us 50,000 to 70,000 opportunities every day to change the contents of our minds, to make it our friend rather than our enemy. Because many of these thoughts that we have are not helpful. They're often self-defeating. They're often complaining. They're often criticizing ourselves to ourselves or complaining about our others. What I should have said, what I needed to say, or stupid things that we've heard on the radio that are really unhelpful when, and these 50,000 to 70,000 times every day, we could be giving ourselves positive messages at every turn. We could be saying, "Oh, nobly born, remember who you are." We could repeat what Swami Vivekananda says, "You are souls immortal, blessed and eternal. You are not matter, you are not bodies, you are the servant of matter. Matter is not. You are not the servant of matter, matter is your servant. You are not bodies, blessed and eternal. Blessed, free and eternal." Why don't we give ourselves those messages instead of, "Why did that happen to me?" Or, I didn't do that right, I'm so stupid. Those are so unhelpful. Give ourselves thoughts of strength at every time. We can remember, for those who are initiated, remember the mantra. We have 50,000 to 70,000 opportunities every day to say the mantra. We should never dismiss the power of the mantra. The mantra is literally the name of God and has the power of God in the mantra. All these times, we can be changing the very contents of our mind and giving ourselves incredible strength. We need to remember, I am the Atman. I am pure, I am perfect, nothing can touch me. What's a mountain or an ocean to me? I'm eternal. We can think, I am a child of God. I am the beloved of the Lord. I am the friend of God. He has got my back. What are you to me? Not even the king of death can touch me. Are you kidding me? What is that to me? I am being held in the arms of the Divine Mother. What do I have to fear from a bunch of boulders or being downsized? What can that do to me? We have to remind ourselves that we have infinite strength. We simply have to access it. And we can access it through reminding ourselves these wonderful thoughts, these strength-giving thoughts. Remember the mantra. Remember, oh nobly born, remember who you are. We're not small, we're not limited, we're not weak. It's also helpful for us to identify the fears, that when we feel uncertain, that when we feel it kind of closing in on us, we really need to open up the lid of the garbage can and look down and say, okay, A lot of us are afraid to open the lid of the garbage can because we're afraid that there's going to be something in there that's going to pull us in and we'll be even more scared. But it doesn't work that way. When we actually open the lid of the garbage can and look down, there's like, meow, meow. It's just a little putty cat. If we can actually see it and identify it and kind of move things around in there, it gives us a great deal of strength. It's like, okay, all right. What were you afraid of? Oh, I was afraid of the boulders because I heard that terrible sound of the mountain giving way. I was afraid of the boulders and the mud coming down into my room. Okay, all right, that's valid. Are you afraid to die? I'm not afraid of death, no. Okay, check. What are you afraid of? I'm afraid of pain. Okay. How long is that pain going to last? Given the size of that boulder, it's not very long. Okay. Are you okay with that? All right, I feel something else moving in that garbage pail. What else are you afraid of? I can't save those I love. Could you ever save those you love? No. I can't save the property. Could you save the property? takes care of the property, Divine Mother. Okay, and you're confusing yourself? Okay. Let go and let God. When we open up the garbage pail, it really helps take away these unknown fears, because it's the unknown what scares us. It's not the known. The other thing that we can do is to say the most difficult words ever said. Thy will be done. You know, in Southern California, every morning we repeat the prayer of Sri Chaitanya, which is, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. Do with me what you wish. Ow. But for you are my heart's beloved and you alone. And that is the truth, because in the whole world we have nothing but the Lord to call our own. Nothing but the Lord will stay with us. Nothing but the Lord will be with us. And the truth is, we have never loved anything but the Lord our entire life. In our big loves, in our little loves, we've never known anything and never loved anything but the divine. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad goes into that. The husband loves the wife not for the sake of the wife, but for the divine within the wife, etc., etc. The whole laundry list of all these things that we love and cherish in our lives. We've never loved anything but God our whole lives. And that's the one thing that will stay with us. Do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved. Sri Ramakrishna said, everything, all, depends upon God's will. Really? Okay. All right. I got to trust you, because I guess I don't have a choice. But you are my heart's beloved. And you alone are the one I love and the only one I can really trust. Because you are the only one who is standing by me. You know, in AA, they say, let go and let God. They also say, accept the things we cannot change. Those are some of the best things ever put down. Accept the things it's a tall order, but we have to do it. Life is challenging, and it's all the more unchallenging when we then live with uncertainty, because it's scary. But I really like that poem, Desiderata, that was written many, many years ago. And it says, you are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether it is clear to you or not, everything is unfolding in the universe as it should. As it should. Living with uncertainty reminds us that despite all the changes, despite all the flux, despite the fragility of life, despite all the uncertainty, there is one thing that is absolutely certain, and that is who we are. That is our own divine nature. That is the Lord. That is the divine nature, or the Divine Mother, our own true nature. We don't know the past. We certainly don't know the future. But we do know that we have the divine in our hearts, and that alone is the one thing that will stay with us throughout eternity. You know, a baby in the arms of his mother, like that. A baby has no uncertainty whatsoever. The baby doesn't say, oh my God, what happens if she hits a curb and she drops me? Never. Baby doesn't think, oh my God, what if she forgets she's holding me? Never happens. Baby is completely content, completely happy in the arms of her mother, just as we are all the time. And we are absolutely certain at every moment that we're being held in the arms of the Divine Mother. Every second, and we're being held exactly where we should be at every second of our lives. Swami Vivekananda said, stick to God. Who cares what comes to the body? Through the terrors of evil, say, my God, my love. Through the pangs of death, say, my God, my love. Through all the evils under the sun, say, my God, my love. You are here, I see you. You are with me, I feel your presence. I am yours, take me. I am not the world's, but yours, leave me not. The Lord will never leave us. Our divine nature can never leave us because that is who we are throughout all of eternity. That will be with us through thick and thin, through up and down, life after life, birth through birth, death through death, through every bit of uncertainty and every bit of fear and trauma and heartache that we have. That is with us throughout eternity. We can't lose our divine inheritance because that's who we are. You know, there's a saying that says, there are three things that cannot be hidden for long. The first is the sun, the second is the moon, and the third is the truth. And the greatest truth of our existence is who we are, the divine. And as long as we have that, there's no uncertainty. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on uncertainty. That was one thing most of us were certain about, that there will be a lot of food for thought for today. And indeed, there is indeed so much to think about. So after this, as we do, there will be opportunity for you all to share your thoughts and ask questions to Sister when we sit in the sitting room. I just mentioned the programs for the upcoming week. Before I do that, with some of you who are able to attend the reminiscences of the Swamis that Sister Brajaprana spoke on Wednesday, those of you who couldn't come, they will be soon available as audio podcasts. And since there are many reminiscences and there was not sufficient time, I've requested her to have a part 2 during her next visit, whenever that happens. That I hope it will be sooner. I don't want to leave that next visit in uncertainty. About the upcoming program, next week we have the birthday of Shankaracharya coming up. So we will reflect on his life and teachings. That will be next Sunday. On Wednesday, we will continue with the study of the Narada Bhakti Sutras. And on Tuesday and Saturday, our Arati and meditation will also continue as usual. So now we'll have prayer on page 3. May the Divine Being, who is the Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Ahura Mazda of the Zoroastrians, the Great Spirit of the Native Americans, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May we be granted strength, freedom, and clear understanding. May we learn to see God in our own hearts and in everyone around us. May God bless us all and fill our hearts with gratitude, grace, and love. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.